Thank you everybody for joining us today. Hope it's going to be a fun, quick lecture and you walk away knowing how to build some cool new stuff with LowCode. So a little overview of what we're going to do today. Tell you a little bit about myself. 2 words, don't worry. Not too much. A little bit about what Vonage is. Talk about conversational AI, so that's the technology underlying product AI Studio, which I'll show off today in a demo. And then we'll go through the demo, show how you can build conversational AI agents in the AI Studio, and how very quickly you can make powerful applications by combining it with a simple backend like Airtable, and then we'll do like a real-time alert message going out over Postman, mimicking server without having to build anything. So, as I promised, a little bit about me. My name is Benjamin. I work at Vonage for 3 years. Started back here in London 3 years ago with a familiar face, Mercini. So it's always fun at these developer events, seeing who might come back around in your career. Before that, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. After interning for a law firm for like 4 years, I realized that sounded horrible and terrible, and I'd hate my life. Somehow stumbled into coding, understood that building stuff is just like gives you this piece of satisfaction of completing something, and that like you hit it, it works, it runs, you can go home and call it a day. So then I started working at this coding school called LowCode. There's an awesome campus here in London. I worked there also for a few weeks. And then going to developer events, I went to a meetup at the Vonage office in Tel Aviv. So I don't know how many people here are students in the university, but I really applaud you and encourage you to keep coming to developer events like this. It's honestly the best way to meet other developers, meet people working in the ecosystem, and then most importantly, find a job. And that's how I got my job at Vonage, was just going to the office, seeing this incredible 39th floor office where you can see the whole of the city. They have a chef. They got, amazing food, amazing beers, like ping pong on the roof. And I was like, I want to work here. And when I went to that meetup, at first I was like, wait, but what is this Vonage thing? Because I grew up in the 90s where there was these weird commercials that were like orange, and they had this weird jingle, and people were like falling off of a roof and getting hurt. And at the end, it was like, doot, 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 that's Vonage, don't pay too much for your telephone company. And I go to this amazing office, and I'm just like, why does this telephone company have 150 developers in Tel Aviv, and why do they have a chef, and why does everybody seem so happy here? So then I came to find out Vonage has pivoted away from that. We're doing communication APIs. I specifically work in the API division. We do a lot of communication tools and software to help companies with their voice, video, messaging, help them communicate with their customers or communicate internally. Like I said, I'm in the API division. Plus, we got acquired in July. My boss always likes us to mention that. It was perfect timing. Right before the economy went to shit, Ericsson said, here's a load of cash, and made us all very happy. The last bit of sales I'll say is we have some awesome developer programs. We have this thing called Developer Spotlight. So you can basically play around with some of our APIs, build some sample applications, and then write about your experience, and we'll pay you $500. We have a Vonage for Startups program. So that's an equity-free program where if you have a startup and you want to use our APIs, we'll really set you up with engineers and product managers inside the company to help you get like the hands-on tailored like service that you need. And we also give you API credits, obviously, for free. Our developer documentation is amazing. And lastly, we have a developer community on Slack. So if you have any questions or trying to reach out to people in the company, especially people in the developer relations team, where they're monitoring and helping with the community. So if you ever need to add SMS or WhatsApp or video calls or phone to your applications, reach out and we'd be happy to help you. Most importantly, take a picture of this. You get some free API credit for coming to this talk. This helps me and Lucinda keep our jobs. So take the API credit. You don't have to sign up with your credit card or anything, but you'll get 10 euros, I think. And using the AI Studio program, you could buy a phone number for like 70 cents, and $10 will get 10 euros will get you like a year of service on there. Okay, so the more important stuff. Let's talk about conversational AI. AI and chatting has been kind of in the news a lot lately. You might have heard of it. Does anyone have any idea what is conversational AI? Don't be shy. I saw a hand. No? Put you on the spot. Nathaniel, what is conversational AI?
Being able to message and communicate with an AI as if you were speaking naturally like a human.
Perfect. Perfect answer. Yeah, conversational AI is basically just being able to speak with a computer as if you're speaking to a human. It sounds real fancy, but all it is basically bots that developers are creating so that humans can go and get information from a computer without having to speak to a human. In our AI Studio, we have two main features of AI that kind of are in the platform. ASR, so automatic speech recognition. That's kind of what we take for granted these days. You call in, the computer can turn that audio recording into something that it understands, turning it into text and words, which you can use in your code. And then NLU and NLP, and that's where the computer takes basically text and categorizes it into the different parts of speech. So with that extraction, basically, like with this picture, you can kind of understand it a bit better. We as humans, we take it really for granted that when we say the dog wants a treat, what is a dog? A dog is a noun. Who does it relate to, right? What is the actor? What is the verb? It's wanting something. What does that mean? What is an adjective? So the NLU is breaking that all down. And I don't know if anyone here has tried to build chatbots on their own, but the fun part as developers is building out the logic. But when you're building out chatbots on your own, a lot of it is building up the user expression so that the computer actually knows, like if you say the dog wants a treat is the same as the dog is hungry, right? At the end of the day, what the dog's intent is the same, and you want to end up mapping it probably to the same flow. But you can imagine all the different ways that a human might write that in. It starts to get really messy, really boring, and kind of sucks. So the beauty of AI Studio is it has a very powerful engine underneath that maps all of these expressions, and I'll show you in a little bit how you just have to add a few examples, and then it'll start to generate it for yourself. And you don't have to spend a lot of time as a developer building out these banks of user expressions. So about AI Studio. Someone in marketing in Vonage said, what is AI Studio? It's a no-code, low-code conversation designer that empowers both developers and non-developers to design, create, and deploy virtual agents that operate in natural language. Okay, what do we care about that? We don't. Basically, what is AI Studio doing is that it's helping us automate customer interaction. So most of the time in businesses, people are more or less looking for the same thing, right? And you don't want to have to pick up the phone and explain to 5 million times, your frequently asked questions. So what we can do is use our chatbots to improve these user experiences. And it's not like chatbots and voice bots are new. They've been around since the 70s. But even in all this time, there's still a few problems that come about. One, I'm sure all of you have had this feeling sometime not too long ago. You call into like a robot, what's like the most bureaucratic thing you can imagine in the UK? Like, as an outsider, I'm going to say the NHS. That's a thing, right? So I don't know. You pick up the phone, you say, I need to schedule an appointment. And then it's like, I didn't understand that. Or then it takes you to somewhere else. And instead of scheduling an appointment to your dentist, it connects you to like a cardiologist maybe. And you're just screaming there like, human, 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 because you just want to speak to a human. So even after 30, 40 years, we're having these bad experiences where because companies don't want to spend the required money to build out these chatbots, they don't really work. On the other hand is for something that seems so basic that we're all used to, again, if you're a developer starting from scratch building this, you have to build out all of these flows, all these user expressions that have been done a million times before, and it's not fun because it's literally just building kind of like decision trees, right? So what does AI Studio do? As I said before, it comes built with this NLU engine, so you don't have to spend your time dealing with the data so much, and it's a drag and drop no-code platform. So while we can add LowCode or we can add our code on top, we'll see how webhooks get played into this, so you can integrate it with any other application you might have. You can already build out a full agent just using the nodes, dragging and dropping them. So key concepts. This is what the dashboard looks like when you go to make an agent. You have 4 different types of agents. Telephony, so that's going to be voice agent. WhatsApp is a WhatsApp agent. SMS, and then HTTP. So the cool thing is you can build out all your logic inside of AI Studio, and then if you still want to keep your user interface inside of your application, you can just send the request over HTTP to the AI Studio platform, and then get back that information to your application, but never leaving your own app. So this is kind of how it looks. Like every more or less no-code platform these days, you have on the left-hand side your list of nodes, you drag it, you connect it, and you start adding in your information. And so this is kind of what flow will look like in the end. So what are we building today? I was trying to think of what kind of app to build for these conference when I was coming last week. So I reached out to Lucinda and I said, what's happening in the UK lately? And she was like, I don't know. And then only one thing really came to mind. So can anyone guess what's in the news all the time lately in the UK?
Arsenal.
Oh, man. How did you know that I'm a Spurs fan? So we're not going to talk about that. Have you heard of the upcoming coronation? Maybe it's been in the news. I don't know. So yeah, so basically we're building a little agent that helps someone find out information of the upcoming coronation, where they can watch it, and that they could sign up for live updates. And obviously, just to make it fun, at the workshop we did the other day for the CityJS workshop, I gave out some crowns. Don't worry, we won't humiliate anyone with crowns today. So even before you get started in the AI Studio, just like building out an app, I really recommend starting with a mock-up. So this is just how I try to mock it up. I create a key for myself of the different kind of nodes. So you have sending a message, collecting input, classification, conditions, integrations, kind of just create your different types of nodes that you might use, and then build it out in a picture because it's just a lot faster to get going with a picture, especially if you're working with other people. You can be on the same page and make sure it all works. So in the app today, what we're going to do is we'll start with just a welcome message. It'll say, how can I help you? Sorry if it's kind of blurry. I'm just going to read it out. It's going to ask you, how can I help you? Then it's going to grab that input from the user. And we only have a couple of different intents here. Intents is basically like the user's mission. Like when they get to the very end of the flow, they'll be happy if they reach this intent. So we have just 2 different intents. One will be, I want to find out where I can watch the coronation, depending on where I'm located. And the other one is, I want to sign up for live updates. For, I don't know, my mom is one of these people who wakes up for every time there's like a royal wedding, anything royal. She's in the Midwest in the US. She wakes up at like 2 in the morning to watch this. So I'm imagining that she's going to get these live updates of, here they've revealed the crown and now the crown is being put on his head. And I obviously don't know what happens in a coronation. So this is just how the sketch looks. And then we'll have our third flow, which those 2 flows are inbound. So what that means is the user texts into the number and then the agent responds, right? But you also want to have an outbound flow, which is, I don't know, on Tuesdays, your business has a deal on tacos, so you want to send all your VIP customers, tell them, here's the code to get special tacos on Tuesday. In this situation, we're just going to pretend there's like some live updates in the coordination, so we'll show how to do that outbound flow also. So without further ado, we'll do a demo. And, oh no, 1 second. Just 1 second. I need to yell and my colleague that he's blocking my demo, even though I told him about this. Or we're going to switch it up really fast. Okay, cool. Uh-oh. And, okay, and we're back. So I'm not going to build this out. We don't have time, but also it's the most boring thing in the world, I think, to watch somebody type, copy, paste, or like write code or anything like that. But basically what you have here, like I said, is you have all your nodes on the side, and here you have your canvas where you work. So like I said, you have your conversation nodes. So if you want to send a message, if you want to collect input. I didn't even talk about how we work with variables in the AI Studio, but basically variables we call parameters, but it's just the same as you would expect in JavaScript. These parameters have different data types. That's what we call entities. And then, like I said, users have intent. So we need to build up like a bank of what are the different intents that we want them to reach. You see some more advanced features here, like you can access all the contacts who have used the app. You have tags, so that can be used in reporting. At the top here, you have a tab for reporting, so you can diagnose what's actually happening in your flows. Like if people are getting stuck at a certain node, you can see where they're getting stuck. You can see if they're making one decision like 80% of the time. You get all that back in the report, or you can see if something's breaking, for instance, like a webhook. Here, the different events, so inbound, outbound. And then because these flows, this is a very basic flow with just a few nodes. But in production, some companies have like hundreds of flows. So to make it a little bit easier to work with, you can break it up into subflows. So like we had in the flow in the mockup, you have your starting point. Then we dragged in here a welcome message. You can see in the welcome message and also in the collect input, because it's a WhatsApp agent, we have a few different types of messages. So you have text, image, location, which is a nice one, videos. So you can really enhance the customer experience by using the different kinds of message types instead of just sending like raw text every time. And I don't know, I'm sure most people have experienced this, when you're using a WhatsApp agent from a business, you have those like fun buttons you can press, right? Like yes or no, or there's a list. So you have that here in the collect input. So in the last message, it said, welcome to the coordination. And then here, how can I help you? You see that here we had to add a parameter. So we created a parameter, called it topic. So that's going to be the variable where we store the user's response to that question. So we say, how can I help you? We're expecting text. We could also do a reply here if it was like a yes or no question. A list if you had like a lot of different options and they needed to select one. So then we get to kind of the fork in the road. So we've asked our users what we can help them with. And even in this app, we just have two options. So logically, if they just have two options, maybe we would use a condition. So we have a condition node. Condition node. And just like in code, but just like with drag and drop, with clicking and pointing, you can select a variable. You can say, is it equal, depending the value. Say true. Now it creates a condition. So here we'll call it topic equals true. And then maybe we would have a second condition, like topic equals false. And now we can see that if we wanted to use a condition for this situation, all we have to do is connect it. If it's true, then here, now we want it to go in this direction. or if it's false, maybe we want it to take a different path. But conditions are very limited, right? And we'd have to write out each condition we want. And it's also not very good user interface because we would have to check that the user types in exactly the value that we're expecting, right? But what we have is a classification node. So classification here is using that NLU engine. So again, we need to select our parameter. So let's say, again, topic. So we can say classify topic. And then we would need to pick an intent. We'll use the pre-built intents that I'd already created, but just to show how it goes. So let's say the intent is the user, I don't know, wants to, say, order pizza. And then, so how are we going to know if the intent is to order pizza? We'll have to pass in some user expressions. So we might have to say, we might expect the user to say, I want a pepperoni, or cheese and mushrooms, or how, I was going to say how much is a pizza, but we then might not be ordering a pizza, we might be asking for price, so that might be a different intent. If they just want to say order pizza, maybe we'll say, I would like to order a pizza. Or what we, as developers, often mistake is that, oh, we're going to have the perfect user every time. But usually, people are not the perfect user. So they might just say, like, pizza. Or pizza, please. And the cool thing is now that we have a few in here, the engine creates these suggested user expressions. So it's kind of funny what it picked up here. I want a mozzarella, I want a salami, cheese and onions. So here I'd like to order pasta. You see, we might need to give it a few more expressions so it zeroes in, but you can already see, especially for something that's not as kind of wide-ranging as ordering a pizza, how helpful this would be that you can just say click, 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 without having to write those out yourself. And then again, after you add them, it'll refresh and regenerate more expressions. So it makes it a lot easier to build that out as well. So that's how the classification works. And it's kind of the same as the conditions, where you just start to build up here like a list of your intents. And now you have the drag and drop where it goes in the flow afterwards. So let's delete the pizza one. But here we have, back to our coordination app, we have the two different flows, finding locations for where people can watch the coordination and signing up for those alerts. I called it promotions, but signing up for those alerts. So let's continue with our first flow, the locations. Then if we have the location, we want to ask them, if we know that they're looking for location, we need to ask them where they're going to be. So we grab that information again. And now, how are we going to know, even if we know if they're like in London, or if they're in Liverpool, or if they're in Tel Aviv, how are we going to actually tell them where they should be watching the coordination from? Like, nothing inside of AI Studio actually helps us with this, right? So we need some kind of a back end which will hold all of our information. So what I've done is use another low-code tool, Airtable, very nice. It's kind of like Excel with superpowers. So here I've just mapped a few different places to a few locations. Google told me that the cricket club in Liverpool is the best place to watch the coordination. Yeah, I don't know. Supposedly they have a huge TV. So what we're going to do is then send a request to Airtable. And Airtable is great because they have lovely developer documentation, which if you just click here, it already starts to build out your requests for you. And then you can do a lot more with some filtering on top, as we'll see. So here we just grab that request that Airtable created. We need to pass through our API key here in the header. And then, why do I not have? Here there should be filter by formula. So here we pass through an Airtable query, just like you would in SQL or any other backend language. So basically what we're doing here is we're telling Airtable to search in that base, because we give it here this app ID, says which table we're looking in, and then it goes into the locations. And here we're saying search against location. So this $ location is the parameter that we stored earlier from the user input inside of AI Studio, and then we're going to search it against the city column. And so I hope that this works, since it seems the colleague that was working in here deleted something. AI Studio has this nice search feature where you can run the request here beforehand to test it. So it looks like we're getting it back. We're getting back all of our cities, and I don't know why it's dropping our parameter here. That's kind of weird. But we can see that we've made that webhook connection, because we're getting back Liverpool, Tel Aviv, London here. And then if you see, there's a tab here called test results. So actually in the webhook, we have a feature called response mapping. So what that does is whatever that JSON object you're getting back from your webhook, it'll look, we saw how it looks, right? It looks like this, like we have an object, it has key records, which inside has a table of all the different records. But how do we get access to it? So that's through this response mapping. And basically, as long as you use the right keys here, using this notation with just like the arrays, you can go in by key. So going inside of the object to records, then going into the first record, then going to the field, and then going to the city, we see that we're getting back that first record is Liverpool, and what is the suggested place to watch in Liverpool is the cricket club. So we see that that's working. Amazing, beautiful, super powerful. Now that we have our agent connected to a backend, basically have an application, right? So now we have that the watch location suggested we can use inside of the AI Studio. So now we just want to send a little message to our user, and we could test this either in WhatsApp itself by publishing it. So you'd have to buy a phone number from Vonage. In the UK, the numbers are super cheap. It's like 80 cents a month. And then you'll connect it to the agent. Or here we have a very handy-dandy tester where it mimics exactly the WhatsApp experience. So let's try out that first flow. We'll put in location. Put in London. I really hope that it didn't break with... Okay. It's using Liverpool answer. So something in the filter is not working right, but we can see that we're grabbing the data from the Airtable and then putting it out here. So it needs a little bit of fine tuning, but it's basically working. And because we have a very short demo, I'm going to hurry it up. Okay, so that was our first flow. We said we were going to do 3 flows. That was the first flow. We did the most important basic function, which is connecting our agent and grabbing information. Now, what we want to do is, from our agent, we want to pass information to our database. So that's what we called our sign up for promotion. So here I just said the user expressions I put in were like, let me know what's happening, sign up, et cetera, et cetera. The other cool thing about the AI Studio, especially when you're using a WhatsApp agent, is these parameters. So you have custom parameters, but then you also have system parameters. So because we're in WhatsApp, we already know something like the user's profile name, and we know the sender's name. So already, as soon as the user is telling us, I want to sign up for promotions, we can already make that request and send the information to our database without having to, say, what's your phone number, what's your name, all this kind of stuff. In practice, you might want to confirm that the WhatsApp name that they created when they were 16 years old isn't the name that you want to store in your database. But again, it's very similar to the request we just made. We changed get to post, send it to now our customers. table in our data in our Airtable. Here in the body, we're going to pass through. Again, this is straight from the Airtable documentation, which just tells you what it's expecting in the fields. Here we'll pass through the profile name and the sender phone number. And actually, this one I want you all to test. If you can scan it, and then when you start the flow, just say something like sign up, or just say sign up. And you should be able to send a request and then get a confirmation that it was added. And I really like that everyone here just took out their phone and started taking a picture without asking me, where is their phone number going? It's not going anywhere. I'm deleting this. I'm deleting like this table after this demonstration. I'm DevRel. I'm not like sales. I don't want to heckle you with bombard you with spam. So if people are getting like, is it working? Yeah. Oh, I hear WhatsApp pings. Yes, no? I see in the middle row, there's some hesitation. Yeah? Oh, okay. Okay, so here's the big drum roll. If it all works, we're going to open our Airtable, and we're going to see under the customers table. Wait, refresh. Wait. Lucinda, you said it was working. Weird. Did you get like a message back?
Not after the
Okay. Okay, maybe. Let me just try one thing. 872. I think I changed the. Yeah. I was trying to debug something earlier. Changed out this API key. And so let me just put in this API key, and then it should work. And as long as I get one person to get it to work, it'll make my day. Okay. Well, now you have the agent. So if one person can just say, hey, agent, sign up, and then we'll see it in the database, and everybody gets their money's worth. Yeah? Lucinda, you got a message back? No? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is why you put your colleagues in the crowd. Wow. See, at the 2-hour workshop, everything ran very smoothly. Trying to get it to go in 30 minutes. Invalid permissions. Oh. But we just did it on this one. Oh, okay. I think I know. And if this doesn't work, Nathaniel will have a good laugh at my expense. Coordination, 30 minutes. So just gonna generate new token. And post request to the customers table, and it's in this one. Like I said, nothing better than watching somebody debug live. It's the worst thing, I think, for both of us. just make sure that this is the right app. 1C. 1C, okay. Okay, so now it should work. Lucinda, try it really quick. So that, I don't know if y'all caught on, but I was thinking, if I'm doing a coordination app, who's signing up who didn't get invited to the coordination? You got the message? Okay, you know what we can do? Because here it said that it went through. What we're going to do is just in the test request, I'm going to show you. So here we can actually put in some test data. So who's the famous British person? Who? David Beckham. Okay. And phone number will just be 55555. Okay. So now we have our test parameters. We're going to try to send it. Looks like it was created because we're getting back a response. And David Beckham. So it's connected. Okay, so now we've seen two flows. Something's really buggy here today. But we've seen the two of the three important flows, which is that we can get information from our table, send information to our table. And the last one is that we want to do an outbound request. So once we have information in our table, we can trigger it anytime we want. So what I've done here is I just created a collection in Postman. So collection allows you to basically chain requests one after another and store variables as if you have like a server with variables that persist between each request. So in the first request, we're getting back our contacts. It's the exact same endpoint that we did before with the same headers. And now I've changed the key. So that's why you don't change stuff in the middle of a demo. So here we're getting back our records. We see we have Harry, Megan, and David. Amazing. But what we want to do is that we want to get each record, and then we want to send to the AI Studio because we want to send one message to each contact, right? So you have one post request where you tell them who's the contact and what's the message you want to send. So how we do this in Postman is once we get these records back, we go to the test tab, we store our information in a variable called retrieved records, which then this is used in the PM, the Postman variables. So that's their global variables we can pass between requests. So then we need to create our post request. And in this post request, we do same thing, the post to our AI Studio here. We need to pass in our AI Studio API key. In the body, we are going to say, I want to send it to each individual number. We need to pass in our AI Studio agent. Just to show you how simple it is, instead of sending WhatsApp, we're just going to send an SMS because the WhatsApp, it's the exact same logic. You just have to pass a bunch of information that WhatsApp requires from your Facebook account, from your WhatsApp business Facebook account. And then here you can pass in variables to the message. So here we're going to pass through the name of each user. So you might be asking, okay, so we have our request set up with the authorization and what we're passing in the body, but what is this variable current number and current name? So these are those Postman variables that we set up before, but what we've done is Postman also has this pre-request script. So it allows you to add some logic before each request that you send. It looks a little bit scary at first, but it's pretty straightforward. So it's getting that retrieved records that we took from our first request. Then we're going to go through each one, iterate, and take the current record. For the current record, we're going to get the current name and current number. And those are actually then what we're using here in the body, right? So because we've gone through the retrieved records, gone to each record and grabbed that current name and current number, we can use it here in our actual request. To make this more interesting, instead of Harry, And so that it's not looking like all planned, I'm going to put Nathaniel 44. 47 57 41 48. I feel like this is like one of those stand-ups where they just keep telling you numbers over never stops. All right, so let's see. So far everything in this demo has broken. Let's see if this works. If it works, Nathaniel should get a message now from the AI studio. So we go here to run the collection. It says okay. Bad request 1 was created.
I got the 10.
Hey! So, I don't know, I think we went over 30 minutes, but in my head it felt really fast. Just as, we can skip that. Next steps, yeah, if you like what you saw, if you want to help your business improve their customer experience, it's really that simple. You can check out the docs, go to the developer blog. One more time, take a picture of the API credit if you didn't before. We covered all these amazing things, and thank you.